The park was a symphony of suburban life. The scent of freshly cut grass mingled with the aroma of barbecue smoke from a nearby family gathering. The air was thick with the high-pitched screams of children on the playground and the rhythmic thud of a basketball against asphalt. For 10-year-old Naya, it was a perfectly ordinary Saturday, a day spent with her best friend, Maya, on the swings. Her knees, still scraped from a fall she'd taken earlier, stung in a way that felt like a badge of honor. Across the field, a local youth football game was in full swing, and a small crowd had gathered to cheer on the two teams. It was the kind of scene that felt like it had been lifted straight from a postcard until a wailing siren sliced through the gentle ambiance. A patrol car, its lights flashing with an urgent, silent intensity, pulled up to the edge of the park. Two officers stepped out, their uniforms starched and sharp against the casual backdrop of shorts and t-shirts. One was a broad, older man with a weary expression, the other, a younger officer with a neat mustache and a confident, almost cocky stride. They were looking for something, or someone, their eyes scanning the faces in the crowd. The older officer, Officer Miller, approached the bleachers. "We're looking for a lost child, a boy, about 5 years old. He has a red ball. Anyone seen him?" A nervous murmur rippled through the crowd. Mothers held their children a little closer. The game paused, the players standing still in their helmets and pads, a tableau of quiet concern. A few people pointed toward the playground, a natural place for a small child to wander. Nia, however, was already a few steps ahead. She'd seen a little boy with a red ball earlier, a curly-haired kid she'd seen a few times before. He'd been crying, his small face scrunched up in distress, and he'd wandered toward the tall, dense hedge that separated the park from the woods beyond. She knew he was trying to hide, to find a place where no one could see his tears. Without thinking, she ran toward the two officers. Her heart pounded with a mix of fear and excitement. "I know where he is," she said, her voice a little breathless. "He went into the woods over there. He was upset." The younger officer, Officer Hayes, looked down at her, a patronizing smile spreading across his face. He was in his mid-20s, and Nia's small, determined figure seemed to amuse him. "The woods, huh? You sure about that, little one? It's pretty thick in there." Nia nodded, her braids bouncing with the motion. "Yes, he went in through the hedge, behind the big oak tree." Officer Miller, the older one, seemed to take her seriously. "All right, thank you, sweetie. You too," he said to a couple of teenage boys who had been watching. "Come with us. We could use the extra eyes." Officer Hayes, however, wasn't so inclined. He laughed, a short, sharp sound that felt like a slap. "Look, we'll handle it. Don't worry about it. Why don't you go back to your swings?" he said to Nia. "Let the grown-ups do the work." Nia's small face hardened. She wasn't used to being dismissed, not by her parents, and certainly not by a stranger with a badge. "I saw him," she insisted, her voice gaining a new edge of defiance. "He went into the woods because he was scared. He didn't want anyone to see him." Hayes rolled his eyes at his partner. "Kids," he muttered under his breath. He turned back to Nia, his smile gone. "Listen, we appreciate the help, but we've got this. The woods can be dangerous. You need to go back to your parents." Nia took a deep breath, her own defiance swelling inside her. "My dad told me what to do if I ever saw someone in trouble. He's in the special forces. He said you always help, even if it's scary. The younger officer's smile returned, wider and more derisive than before. He laughed again, louder this time. The sound was not kind, it was a sneer. Special forces. You mean like the guys in the movies? The ones with the big muscles and the cool gadgets. He leaned in, his voice dropping to a theatrical whisper. Sweetheart, I'm pretty sure your dad's a plumber. Now, run along. He turned away, a smirk on his face, a gesture of finality that told Nia he was done with her. He and Officer Miller began to walk toward the playground where the search had started. A few people in the crowd had heard his comment and looked away, embarrassed for her. Nia felt a hot, shameful flush creep up her neck. Her dad wasn't a plumber, and he wasn't just in the movies. He was a real-life hero. She had to prove them wrong. She didn't run back to her swings. Instead, she bolted toward the hedge she had seen the boy disappear into. She pushed her way through the thick leaves and thorny branches, ignoring the sharp scratches on her arms and legs. The trees swallowed her up, and the sounds of the park faded behind her, replaced by the crackling of twigs underfoot and the chirping of unseen birds. The woods were a different world, a quiet, shadowy place where the sunlight struggled to break through the canopy. Nia walked for what felt like an eternity, her eyes darting between the moss-covered trees and the tangled undergrowth. She called out softly, "Hello, is anyone here?" "It's okay, I'm just here to help." She found the little boy huddled behind a fallen log, his small frame shaking with silent sobs. His face was streaked with dirt and tears, and he clutched a small faded red ball to his chest. "Hey," she said softly, kneeling down. "It's okay. I'm Nia. Are you lost?" He looked up at her, his eyes wide with fear. He nodded, unable to speak. "My dad's a cop," she said, a small white lie to comfort him. "He's looking for you. He sent me to find you. What's your name?" "Leo," he whispered, his voice trembling. "Okay, Leo," she said, her voice taking on a confident tone she didn't feel. "It's going to be okay. We're going to go back to the park. Your family is looking for you." She stood up and extended her hand. "Come on." He hesitated for a moment, then took her hand. His small fingers were cold and clammy. As they began to walk, Nia heard new sounds from the park. The desperate sound of a woman crying. "My son, he's gone. He just disappeared." Nia knew it was Leo's mom. The sound gave her a new surge of determination. She had to get him back. She pushed through the hedge and stepped back into the park, the sunlight blinding after the shadows of the woods. The woman was at the edge of the woods, her face frantic, her husband trying to comfort her. Officer Hayes was there, his face now grim, no trace of the derisive smile left. He had realized the seriousness of the situation. "I found him," Nia called out, pulling Leo along. "He was in the woods. He's right here." The woman, Leo's mother, screamed his name and ran toward them, scooping her son up in her arms, her face a mixture of relief and disbelief. She hugged him tightly, a sobbing, grateful mess. The crowd, which had been silent with worry, erupted in applause. The football players took off their helmets and cheered. The scene was one of overwhelming relief. Officer Miller walked up to Nia, his face filled with genuine gratitude. "Thank you, young lady. That was very brave of you." Officer Hayes, however, stood silent, his face a mask of shame. He looked from Nia to the grateful parents and back again, his bravado completely gone. You said your dad was in the Special Forces, Officer Miller said. That's quite an inspiration. My son is in the Army, but not in the Special Forces. They're a different breed. Nia felt a rush of pride. Yes, sir, she said, her voice a little shaky from the adrenaline. He said, to always be brave. Officer Hayes finally found his voice. It was a hoarse whisper. I'm sorry, little girl, he said, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. I shouldn't have laughed. I shouldn't have said that. The moment was interrupted by a new voice, a deep, steady rumble that seemed to command attention without raising an octave. Nia, you found him. I knew you'd be a good scout. Everyone turned. A man was walking onto the scene, his presence a quiet storm of power and grace. He was a large man, powerfully built, with shoulders that seemed to fill the air around him. He wasn't in uniform. He was in a simple gray t-shirt that stretched over his muscular frame and a pair of cargo pants. His dark, kind eyes were fixed on Nia, a smile of pure pride on his face. Daddy, Nia shouted, running into his arms. He lifted her up, hugging her tightly, a small chuckle escaping his lips. Officer Hayes, his face still flushed with shame, took a step back. Officer Miller, however, recognized something in the man's posture, in his quiet command. Sir, are you in the military? He asked. Nia's dad put her down, his expression calm and a little confused by the scene. Yes, I am, he said. I'm Sergeant First Class Jackson. Officer Hayes's face, already pale, went ashen. He had never seen a Sergeant First Class in person before. The rank and the man's quiet confidence spoke volumes. Sergeant First Class, a senior enlisted rank, meant he was a grizzled veteran, a leader of men, a man who had seen things Officer Hayes could only dream of. Sergeant First Class Jackson, Officer Miller said, his voice now respectful, almost reverent. Your daughter is a hero. She found a lost boy in the woods. She said she was doing what you taught her. Sergeant First Class Jackson's smile widened. He looked at Nia, his eyes shining with pride. That's my girl. She's got a good heart. Then his gaze shifted, and for the first time, he noticed Officer Hayes. The younger officer stood rigidly, his hands clenching and unclenching at his sides. He saw the recognition on the man's face, the shame in his eyes, and he knew. Nia had not said a word to her father about the incident, but he knew. A father knows. He walked up to Officer Hayes, not with anger, but with a quiet dignity that was more intimidating than a shout. He extended a large, calloused hand. Thank you for what you do, officer, he said, his voice calm. It takes a brave man to wear a uniform and serve the public. Officer Hayes looked at the hand, then at the man's face. He saw no malice, no mockery, only a quiet strength and a deep-seated humility. He took the hand, and for the first time in his life, he felt small. He had been a bully, a fool who had used his authority to belittle a child. And the man he had ridiculed was standing right in front of him, offering him a handshake. Sir, Officer Hayes stammered, his voice barely audible. I owe you and your daughter an apology. I was a jerk, I was wrong. Sergeant First Class Jackson just nodded, a small, knowing smile on his face. We all make mistakes, officer. The important thing is what we do after we make them. Now, go find your courage again. It's out there, somewhere. The words were not a sermon, but they were a lesson. They were a rebuke delivered with grace, a quiet testament to the man's character. Officer Hayes nodded, his eyes fixed on the ground, a new kind of humility settling over him. The lost boy, Leo, was reunited with his parents and the grateful family. A tearful mother and a relieved father thanked Nia and her dad profusely. They insisted on buying them dinner, and they walked away from the scene together, leaving the two police officers standing in the park, the quiet heroes of the day. Their dignity restored, their lesson learned. The sun set, painting the sky in a brilliant array of orange and purple. Nia looked up at her dad, his large hand holding hers, his strength and his quiet dignity a beacon in the fading light. She knew then that courage wasn't about being loud or boastful. It was about being quiet and strong, and about standing up for what was right, no matter what.